Wolfe is a player that will always put his 100% effort into his matches. So Dan's not only going to have to match that, but overcome his experience gap.
Yeah, I think Wolfe definitely the favorite going into this encounter. And there we do see Dan ready, but I don't think that's Wolfe. But yeah, once again, we're seeing their teams there displayed, and that Togedemaru is really what will be my main point of interest, seeing whether he brings it. And yep, there we actually do see it. And now we also do see Wolfe. So there he is. Wow. So we do see Air Balloon, the first cool thing coming off of that Togedemaru. Hashtag aDrive. Yo, if you want to join in the discussion on Twitter, tweet with hashtag aDrive at hashtag Geico Gaming now. But yeah, back to business here. We do see two Tapu Fini, so this time both of these trainers opted to bring their Tapu into the first battle here. And already it's kind of curious to see what the Togedemaru really wants to do here. I mean, it could help the Fini either get off super strong choice specs boosted Muddy Waters, or maybe help it a little bit get off setup with Calm Mind. And then, of course, what does Wolfe want to do here?
I don't know, but he looks really focused. It all depends on if that Arcanine has access to Snarl here. A lot of them have been physical lately.
And there is the Eggy, so we're seeing all the cool Pokemon here in this first round. Wow.
As we see the fake out into the Arcanine there, Wolfe trying to get positioning to possibly get up a Trick Room, and the Muddy Water is going to go off. It will connect with the Arcanine as the Executor does avoid it. Wouldn't really mind that, as it does have a quadruple resist to it.
Oh, wow.
And the damage is massive.
Almost going for the knockout, but wow, looks like, once again, maybe 1 HP is saving Wolfe here from losing a Pokemon turn 1. aDrive coming through here with a prediction, landing that fake out into the Arcanine, and then firing off a very powerful Muddy Water. So I probably would expect this to be that choice specs that we were talking about. But yeah, Muddy Water missing on the Executor, of course, is a little bit annoying. But yeah, thanks to its 4-time resistance to that attack, it probably wouldn't have done too much damage either way. But yeah, of course, the first turn, and Dan is already saying yeah, I'm here. I know how to play this game, you know?
Yeah, that was a great read, and that was definitely the drawing first blood there, as we see the Arcanine switch out here into the Tapu Fini, something that would be able to take that Muddy Water from the choice specs Tapu Fini. But Dan actually, once again, showing that he knows what he's doing. He's going to switch out into the Arcanine here, bring the Intimidate. Not going to matter because there's 2 special attackers on the field. I'm inclined to believe that Wolfe is going to try and get up a Trick Room here. But this is a very surprising Pokemon. We have yet to see a Alolan Executor and some serious competitive play. So it does get the Trick Room off here.
Yeah, so there we do have that Trick Room. And once again, first game we saw Aaron using that to his advantage. So the question is, of course, will Wolfe be able to repeat history a little bit and also get off that win just with a Trick Room? Executor is a Pokemon that now actually is a Dragon type. So it'll be cool to see how Wolfe uses that new typing. And then the Tapu Fini, though, looks to be in a pretty decent position here. Could, just like aDrive did in the first turn, fire off a powerful Muddy Water against that Arcanine and Togedemaru.
Wolfe is going to switch out his Executor here, just fearing possibly a very strong attack from the Arcanine. He's going to bring in his Mudsdale, something with a very low speed stat, something that can abuse those Trick Room turns very properly. And aDrive bringing in the Gyarados to get the Intimidate down onto that the Mudsdale switch in, which is utilizing the speed of the Togedemaru being naturally slower to actually get that Intimidate off, as aDrive gets the Protect there and will prevent any damage from the Tapu Fini. And the Tapu Fini gets off the Muddy Water, which, if it connects with the Gyarados, could get a very crucial accuracy drop.
And of course, that Gyarados is shiny as well. So let's see if Muddy Water is able to pick up that accuracy drop. It is not. So it looks like, yeah, aDrive is just switching around a little bit, getting off Intimidates here and there. On the Tapu Fini, of course, it doesn't really matter, but on the Mudsdale, it certainly does. So Wolfe really wants to capitalize on the Trick Room turns he has available to him, switching out that Executor, which is probably a little more supportive orientated. And if there's no Pokemon that can hit for super effective damage, then you kind of just want to switch it out into something that can do some more damage, like that Mudsdale. But yeah, we've already seen the Air Balloon on the Togedemaru, so that's something that Dan could probably use to reduce the damage that Wolfe can do in those limited Trick Room turns even further. But Wolfe, once again, switching back the Mudsdale back into Executor, really not knowing what he wants to do, or he really knows what he wants to do. So let's see what aDrive goes for here.
And aDrive is going to get the Tapu Fini out here. Wolfe, I think, calling that switch by getting in the Executor. Going for the Moonblast into the Gyarados. I mean, Executor also is a switch synergy for the Mudsdale if he had gone for something like a Hydro Vortex, which is the move we're about to see.
So yeah, aDrive not really happy with how this worked out, but of course, like someone like Wolfe doesn't just, I don't know, let this Gyarados take out his Mudsdale. He switches back into his beloved Executor, and yeah, that shouldn't do too much at all.
You can see Wolfe smirking here as Dan's just like shaking his head. I wonder if Dan's thinking, oh, did I make a rookie mistake there? Or is he thinking, oh, Wolfe's just that good? In my opinion, I think it was a pretty safe switch there for the Executor to come in. But the problem is, you want to capitalize on those Trick Room turns. So it's not really a problem that Dan wanted to try and get the read there on Mudsdale. It was a read he was going for, thinking the Mudsdale would stay in. I think he's actually got a big problem with how he's going to take out this Tapu Fini on Wolfe's side, though.
Yeah, and as well that Executor, since now he's stuck here with his 2 Water-type Pokemon, and of course he would like to switch into, say, his Arcanine to take out the Executor, but then, yeah, we have that Tapu Fini on the field as well. So it looks like Wolfe somehow was able to play himself into a position where now he does have that opportunity to go for either that like Calm Mind to boost his stats a little bit, or I don't know, like a Sleep Powder potentially on the Gyarados, since that is not protected from the misty terrain. And aDrive once again going to switch back into his Arcanine, getting off an Intimidate that is probably not as helpful depending on what type of Executor that is.
The Executor going to get the Protect off just to save itself any damage from possible Moonblast on the Tapu Fini.
Ooh, and we're seeing a Light Screen being set up here. Okay.
Not exactly a move that we see too much. I think that's actually because of the dominance of Aurora Veil from Ninetales. So not many people have really explored too much with Reflect and Light Screen because they can use just, Ninetales and get access to both at the same time. But basically Wolfe knew that his Tapu Fini wasn't threatened by anything on the field there. So he could get the Light Screen off and provide a lot more, basically safer switching synergy and kind of prevent the Executor from even fearing the Tapu Fini.
Yeah, and Ice Fang also something that not every Gyarados carries, so maybe aDrive really hoped that he could probably catch him a little off guard there. But yeah, Wolfe not falling for that, going for the Protect. And now, he has that Tapu Fini that looks to be pretty safe here. Even say like a Wild Charge from Arcanine probably won't do that much damage if the Intimidate is coming in from Wolfe, as it looks like he's decided to stay in here with his Executor for once though.
He's going to switch out into the Tapu Fini there and bring back the Misty Surge and also reduce the attack of Dragon-type moves. But Executor is actually going to go for a Wood Hammer, which is so intriguing because most Executors capitalize on the huge special attacks that they have. But now we've seen that the Executor has gotten a lot of Intimidates dropped on it. So the double there into the Gyarados is actually going to pick up the knockout, and that's a huge knockout for Wolfe.
Yeah, good play, using his very last turn of Trick Room to finally get that KO on the Gyarados, going for a double up, Wood Hammer and Moonblast, just barely enough since Gyarados also has decent defense stats, but yeah, he finally was able to do that. It allows for aDrive to switch in his Togedemaru here, so he has Fake Out available to him, but with Light Screen up on Wolfie's end, even the fact that Trick Room is over now probably won't hurt him too much, since it looks like he maybe just set it up straight away again. And I kind of feel like Wolfie, like with his defensive synergy and switching around, like he feels like he's like really in control of this game.
Yeah, now that the Light Screen is up, I don't really see too much offensive pressure from Dan here. The Arcanine going to get switched in here, reduce that Togedemaru's ability to get the damage off into the Tapu Fini, and Togedemaru is going to go for the Fake Out. It's going to hit that Arcanine. What I would presume is a Moonblast is going into the Executor slot. It's actually going into the Tapu Fini slot, and realizing that Tapu Fini is
special attack threat. Okay, so that definitely helps. Wolfie's Tapu Fini also firing back with its own Moonblast, though after that reduced special attack, not doing it as much at all. And it looks like okay. So this turn probably was a little bit positive for aDrive. And yeah, if he can somehow manage to knock out that Arcanine without, say, activating the berry we would expect it to have, then maybe with his like own Arcanine in the back and as well as the Tapu Fini, he can also do what Wolfe is doing to him at the moment with his Arcanine and Tapu Fini. Yeah, like those two Pokemon are just like pretty common due to their abilities being so good, the typings being good. and you can really see in this game why, because yeah, neither of them are willing to go down too easily here.
Yeah, they really don't give up much room in the defensive department. They're like a wall that Dan really can't just overcome right now. And so that special attack drop did come into play. The Moonblast not doing too much damage to the Tapu Fini there. We're going to see a Snarl now from the Arcanine. And as we were talking about before, the defensive wall that you might not be able to overcome, with the Tapu Fini staying on the field, just getting the Moonblast off, we are going to see Dan go for another Moonblast into that Tapu Fini, but as we saw earlier, it is reduced in the special attack department by the Snarl. The Muddy Water going to come off on the on Wolfe's Tapu Fini side, and it misses the Arcanine there.
Yep, misses the Arcanine and gets the accuracy drop on the Tapu Fini. So now we have Tapu Fini and Arcanine stare down here. Though Wolfies are actually the ones with lower HP. So, and he also got the special attack reduced on Wolfie's Tapu Fini, whereas the Tapu Fini on aDrive's end has its accuracy a little lowered. So yeah, with you know, like just a couple more like snarls, and this could basically go on for a pretty long time.
Yeah, this is one of those like locks that happen between Tapu Fini and Arcanine, and people talk about it. It's like you just have a dog sitting there and barking and barking and barking, just to keep the Tapu Fini from doing anything offensively. But the Executor from Wolfe going to come back in here. And as we talked about before, the defensive positioning is a little bit too strong. So Wolfe bringing the Executor here on the Arcanine switch, a very smart play here. As the Togedemaru comes back in, Wolfe is going to go for the Protect here of the Tapu Fini and just, save himself any more of these Moonblast damages. And now we're going to see the light screen wear off, and what's the positioning here?
Yeah, I think maybe Wolfe decided that it was time to switch up his plan a little bit. Maybe now he wants to go for a Trick Room setup and then bring out that Mudsdale, which could do a lot of damage to both Arcanine and Togedemaru on Dan's end if he's able to finally pop that Air Balloon that's been there since forever. Yeah, Air Balloon usually an item that you don't want to use on something that you switch in and out a lot, but Dan really not with too many options here, and yeah, so far his prediction play was on point, as that Togedemaru still didn't take a single hit. He also got the Togedemaru in at the right time to prevent Trick Room being set up this turn, since it has Fade Out available to him. Wolfe actually switching in the Mudsdale here, so if aDrive calls that with a Muddy Water, also switching into Arcanine, so wow, this could be a very big turn here, but then again, you have to imagine that Tapu Fini being choice specs, so there shouldn't be like any chance for that. Actually, the Encore coming out from the Togedemaru though, wow.
And then we're going to see the Moonblast going right into that Arcanine. Once again, another switch, smart switch from Wolfe. We do know that the Tapu Fini has had the Snarl sent onto it, so it's not really able to do too much damage. Plus, Arcanine is going to resist that Moonblast. So once again, a smart switch. I definitely think it's within Dan's best interest to try and get that Tapu Fini out of there. The Togedemaru hasn't had its air balloon broken yet, and it's now intimidated by the Arcanine. So if it maybe goes for Zing Zap and is able to pick up the knockout onto this Arcanine, that could turn the tide of this match. But we actually see it hang on there.
Yeah, and now Snarl comes off, will pop that air balloon finally, meaning that Mudsdale will be able to get the KO there potentially with the high horsepower or Earthquake. Moonblast from Tapu Fini comes out into Arcanine. That will get the knockout. But yeah, once again, the Tapu Fini just being like locked into Moonblast, not really helping Dan too much in this position. And we're going to see the Z move being revealed, the Tectonic Rage coming out from Mudsdale on Wolfie's end. So yeah, if he decided to target that into Togedemaru, that would be a little bit of an overkill. But I would assume that this is going to go into the Tapu Fini. Should be enough to get the knockout here, as I believe Mudsdale is not intimidated this time.
Yeah, Tectonic Rage bringing with it a huge amount of damage potential. And unlike Garchomp, which is a Pokemon that usually carries that Tectonic Rage and has to run a Jolly nature, most Mudsdale will go max attack with an Adamant nature. So it's able to have a sky-high attack stat and pick up the knockout there onto the Tapu Fini. aDrive will bring back in the Arcanine, and I mean, this has just been pretty dominant play from Wolfe. Wolfe, kind of just brushing his shoulder off, saying, look, man, I'm the world champ, and welcome to the scene.
But then again, of course, also credit to aDrive, who was able to hang in there. This game, I believe, has been going on for, I don't know, like 12 turns or something. He's going to hit the forfeit button here, since he knows there's no way for him to get around that Mudsdale, since now that air balloon was popped. Mudsdale can just go for high horsepower, knock out the Togedemaru, and then take care of that Arcanine as well. But yeah, really credits to him. I do think that a lot of the decision that he made a lot of sense, also in team selection and the way he just like tried to play the matchup. I think for the second game, I would like to see a little more of a focus on Muddy Water instead of the Moonblast. Of course, he has to find a way to deal with that Tapu Fini and Executor combination. But yeah, that's kind of the downside of running a Pokemon like Tapu Fini with a choice specs. Fairy type attacks and water type attacks really complementing each other kind of well on the offensive. But once you're locked into one of them, for example, that Arcanine could really just pretty freely switch into the Moonblast and didn't really have to worry about anything. So yeah, if Dan finds a way to, I don't know, somehow break through the core, I think at one point, he had a pretty decent position with Tapu Fini and Gyarados next to each other, but then Wolfie called the Ice Fang and protected his Executor. So yeah, Dan definitely also has to like come up with another surprise to somehow catch Wolf off guard here.
Yeah, that Ice Fang there was something I was like, wow, he got the Protector off there. It's very smart. So kind of ruined the surprise factor there. And you know, with the switching synergy that he had with Arcanine, even though that the Gyarados did, you know, has access to a waterfall. At that point, it would have been at -2 because the Intimidates. So even if you had switched his Arcanine into a waterfall, it wouldn't have done too much. And that's just very essential to how this matchup plays out. aDrive can't really let the Tapu Fini run rampant the way it did. And setting up the light screen made it really difficult for his Tapu Fini to do damage. So he needs to I think he needs to bring them up this game. That's definitely his best answer to Wolf's Tapu Fini. And it does plenty against the rest of his team.
Yeah, looking at their teams again, we also didn't see the Garchomp, and that could also potentially make an appearance, depending on what type of moves it has. But then again, Executor is really something that is so bulky. It's really, really hard to overcome it without having that like super effective ice type attack, for example, like that Gyarados has. So aDrive is getting ready here for this second battle of the in Group A of the Pokemon Invitational, presented by Geico Gaming. It's Wolfe Glick, the reigning world champion, against Dan aDrive Clap.
Yes, and so right off the bat, we see the Arcanine Tapu Fini lead. Something that we talked about was very defensively strong. And on Dan's side, we are going to see the adjustment and him bringing the Muck. And the Tapu Fini going to bring the Misty Surge here. I think this is a great position.
Yeah, certainly. Again, the knowledge or the information that Wolf got from that first game, that this Tapu Fini is indeed holding a choice specs, will be pretty important here. Since if Wolfie wishes, he could just go for Protect on the Arcanine, and Protect on Fini as well, maybe. Just try and scout a little bit what is the Tapu Fini going to do here. But that opens up an opportunity for aDrive as well to maybe go for a switch here. But nope, instead, both trainers are just staying in. Wolf goes ahead and goes off with that Snarl, reducing Tapu Fini's special attack stat here.
And we're also going to see we're going to see Dan's Tapu Fini go for a Moonblast there, trying to make a read and try and catch the Executor on the switch. But Wolf actually opts to stay in, makes that hard call, and gets the light screen off too. But the Muck going to get the knockoff here on the Arcanine, getting rid of its Super Citrus Berry. And we're going to see I think that was a good play from Dan to try and make the call, but I would have liked to see a Poison Jab into Tapu Fini. Mm-hmm. I think getting that damage off, Tapu Fini is such a big threat to this team, so he's really got to do something about it.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like he realized that he had to do something here, you're probably not going to beat the world champion just going for very basic plays. And so he tried his luck here at a prediction, going for the Moonblast and knockoff double target. And there's not really too much on Wolf's team that would like to switch into that, because getting the item removed isn't really super pleasant, and being hit by a choice specs Moonblast also isn't. So I think this outcome, while it looks like Wolf was kind of able to not lose too much, still is something that Dan can capitalize on. And yeah, he's switching in the Executor now. So with a Poison Jab coming out from that Muck potentially this turn, Dan could definitely start doing some damage here.
And now we're going to see some switches. Both Tapu Finis getting off the field as Garchomp comes out and Mudsdale on Wolf's side. Muck actually going to be switched out here for the Gyarados. So going to offer that Intimidate. Excellent switch from Dan there. Threatening both Pokemon on the field, as we did see an Ice Fang. And in this format, a lot of the Garchomps actually opt to carry Swords Dance. So I'd be interested to see if he is able to get a Swords Dance off here and possibly really put himself in a good position. I think that was an excellent switch from Dan, and he's got all the pressure right now.
Yeah, definitely. You could also see it in Wolfie's face, like the expression he was making. Like he definitely did not expect that double switch coming out here from Dan, and bringing out the Gyarados for Intimidate on both on 2 physical attackers is always so important. So now Dan is actually the one who has the opportunity to go for a big knockout here if he calls Wolfie's moves correctly. So we're seeing a Protect coming out from the Mudstay. So if this is Ice Fang into the Executor, Dan could be in a pretty decent position. Poison Jab is coming off into that Executor.
Does a lot.
Double up.
Oh, we're gonna see the Hydro Vortex, aren't we? Oh no, never mind. That's a Citrus Berry.
Seeing the Citrus Berry activate, of course. That's what Eggy is known for, and the Dragon Dance. Okay, so he didn't want to commit too hard, since of course there was also an opportunity for Executor protecting and that Mudstale switching out into Arcanine, for example. Now Wolfie got up the Trick Room. And you gotta think, like, okay, now he has got the speed advantage, but both his Pokemon are still at -1 attack. So, yeah, Dan probably can also utilize his Muk a little bit under the Trick Room. So,
he's got to get rid of that Mudsdale first. The Mudsdale is like the one thing keeping Muk off the field. And knowing that you need your Muk to handle the Tapu Fini is very important. I would have liked to see an Ice Fang there, but I think what aDrive was trying to do there was just capitalize on a possible switch. Or maybe a Protect from the Executor. He knew that the Mudsdale wasn't really threatening him with too much damage, especially after the Intimidate. So I don't think it was a bad play to go for the Dragon Dance there, especially now that the Mudsdale protected and you could possibly go for a Hydro Vortex.
Yeah, certainly. And yeah, Fini is the only Pokemon that Wolf has that wants to take that Hydro Vortex. So if aDrive can expect where the Arcanine, for example, is coming in and target that down with the Hydro Vortex, or maybe even the Waterfall could be enough as well, and he doesn't have to worry about that Berry activating, as he was able to knock that off earlier. So this time Wolfie is actually the one going for a double switch, probably expecting some Protects coming out from Dan, who could be trying to stall at the Trick Room. There is one Protect coming out from the Gyarados, but what is that Garchomp going to do?
He's going to get the Poison Jab off into the Tapu Fini switch.
Wow.
And was that a critical hit? Yeah, definitely a critical hit through the Intimidate. We're actually going to see the what I believe is an Ogloza or Iapapa Berry.
Yeah, one of those. And wow, Dan really coming through here. aDrive with the predictions, going for the Poison Jab into the Mudsdale, not really fearing anything. And he gets rewarded with a critical hit on the Tapu Fini, also eliminating its Berry here. So he's staring down against 2 Pokemon that don't have any items anymore. And you gotta think that if that Arcanine does not have Wild Charge, then this Gyarados should still be in a decent position here. And if he can expect, like, for example, where the Executor is coming in and target that with an Ice Fang, I think there is a very realistic chance that aDrive wins this game.
Yeah, we're going to see the Garchomp switch out here, threatened by the Moonblast on the Tapu Fini side. Muk going to come in here, definitely a safe switch into a possible Moonblast. But the Moonblast is going to come and get fired off into that Gyarados, try and get this Dragon Dance sweep potential off the field. And the Ice Fang into the Executor. Oh my goodness. Yo, he's got a lock on Wolf right now. That was a great prediction. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. If you can play Pokemon, you can play Pokemon, man. Oh my goodness.
Wow, he really showing off why he was selected to participate here in this.
Flex.
First of all, going for the Poison Jab into the Mudsdale that switches into the Fini, and now he went for the Ice Fang into Arcanine that switched out into Executor. Wolfie really not happy with how this played out, and I would only assume that a lot of aDrive's fans are really liking what they're seeing here. That Gyarados is definitely proving to be the key member here on his team. We mentioned it in the first game. Just had he gotten off that Ice Fang on the Executor, maybe everything would have changed. And this time, boy, he made sure that he would hit that Ice Fang, but he did it in fashion. Going for the prediction, landing it on the switch, and now, if he's able to stall out the Trick Room, then there's nothing really to stop that Gyarados besides the Tapu Fini, maybe.
If the Mudsdale has access to a Rock-type move like Rock Slide, then Gyarados is really threatened here, but we're going to see a Protect here from the Gyarados in case of that exact position.
Ooh, and Substitute coming out. That's not something I've seen before. Substitute Mudsdale making an appearance here. But Poison Jab coming out from the Muk. He wasn't fearing any high horsepower coming out from the Mudsdale, and getting the poison after Misty Terrain expired. So
yeah, that's a huge poison too, because now the Muk can just not worry about the damage from Tapu Fini. He'd be able to protect and survive. Substitute on the Mudsdale, we've seen Substitute, Protect, and we've seen Tectonic Rage, so that's probably on a high horsepower. So I don't know that Mudsdale actually will have access to a rock type move because most of them opt to carry a heavy slam for the coverage into stuff like Tapu Lele. So that's some information Dan's going to want to take with him for the rest of the game and possibly into a game 3, which I actually believe in now. As we actually see the Mudsdale go for the protect here. And this is all going to be crucial damage. Trick Room hasn't expired yet, so the poison jab.
This is the last turn of Trick Room. But Muck going for a protect here, okay. Does he go for another Dragon Dance? No, right?
I hope he does. I really hope he does.
He could get it off since the Feeny will go down to the poison at the end of the turn. But no, we're just seeing a waterfall going into the protect, but doesn't really matter since Feeny will faint here either way. So now Wolfe, the world champion, is down to only 2 Pokemon against aDrive here. And the Twisted Dimensions returned back to normal. So Trick Room is over. That Mudsdale is now the slowest Pokemon on the field. And Arcanine is basically like the last hope. But yeah, again, he needs to somehow take out that Gyarados before he loses everything. And if you're correct here with your prediction that Mudsdale has Heavy Slam at his last move, that won't be enough to knock out the Gyarados. So he needs to have some sort of like maybe Extreme Speed could do it. Or maybe that rock type move that we didn't see revealed yet on the Mudsdale.
Yeah, what I think Dan also could do is possibly switch in I was saying thinking he might have the extra Intimidator and Arcanine, but he has Hydro Vortex, and going for the Hydro Vortex and the Arcanine, as we said, if there is Heavy Slam as the last move slot for the Mudsdale, he will be able to get the Hydro Vortex and then a Waterfall knockout onto the Arcanine. So, man, things are looking really nice on Dan's side. Yeah,
Muck is being called back here into Garchomp. Garchomp also a Pokemon that's still at full health and also something that will be extremely difficult for Wolfe to deal with. Extreme Speed coming out will be enough to get the KO on Gyarados. Okay, so Mudsdale going for the high horsepower here should do a decent amount of damage too on the Garchomp. So maybe that Mudsdale behind the substitute could somehow pull the comeback here for Wolfe.
Yeah, this is the situation where things can get scary because the Mudsdale being behind that substitute actually paying off in huge dividends here. High horsepower did a crazy amount of damage to that Garchomp.
Yeah.
Sometimes you forget that the single target moves do so much damage to Pokemon. We're so used to earthquake damage from Garchomp. It's so awkward to have a single target ground move now. We're gonna see the Muck come back in here on Dan's side, and what I think he's doing is preserving his Tapu. He's trying to get as much damage as he can off before he brings his Tapu Fini into the lake.
Yep. I wouldn't be too surprised if we were just seeing a, say, Protect and Earthquake play here by Dan, since that should be enough to knock out the substitute from Mudsdale and would also get the Arcanine at this range of HP. And by doing that, breaking the substitute, which is probably like his most important goal at this point, he could then bring out his last Pokemon and take care of that Mudsdale. However, yeah, Muck is another one of those Pokemon that doesn't really want to deal with Mudsdale. And so, yeah, getting rid of that substitute ASAP is the first thing on aDrive's bucket list at this point, I think.
Does that leave it up to Wolfe to possibly go for a second substitute here?
He could do that, and I think he would get the stamina boost, right? Oh, actually, we're seeing a Rock Slide, though, not the Earthquake that we were expecting. Yeah, that won't be enough to break the substitute. And also leaves the Arcanine still on the field here. So it does flinch though, and we're seeing high horsepower. Okay, so stamina did not activate. Okay, I wasn't like 100% sure, but so you actually need to touch the Mudsdale. But yeah, that Rock Slide flinch on the Arcanine as well looks like it's helping Dan out quite a bit, depending on what it went for. But yo, it still looks like Dan is just one step away from defeating the world champion here.
I'm gonna go out on a whim here, and because you went for the Rock Slide there, the reason you'd go for that play is because you don't want to lock yourself into a move if you're a choice item. So some in-depth analysis here. I'm gonna predict that that's a choice item Garchomp, most likely the Choice Scarf. And the reason he didn't want to go for an Earthquake is because he wouldn't be able to change his move the next turn. So getting the Rock Slide off there, so his Muck is then able to go for an attack instead of knocking it out with Earthquake.
Yep, and then there was actually like a scenario where the Mudsdale could alternate between like Protect and Substitute to make the Garchomp KO his own team, but that didn't happen. Then went for the Rock Slide. Even the second one is not enough to break that substitute, but going for the Poison Jab into the Arcanine, not really sure why he wanted to do that, since I'm pretty convinced that Rock Slide would have been enough. Maybe he wanted to make sure that even with a Rock Slide miss, that Arcanine is going down, but we are seeing the miss coming out from Mudsdale as well, and now Wolfe attempting the double protect with Arcanine fails. Rock Slide comes off, will connect, and Wolfe is has his
he's got his hands tied. That's exactly what's going on right now.
Yeah.
The Muck is probably going to just go for a poison jab into the Mudsdale. I think he was trying to get the double target off there, or he's going to go for a knockoff. Probably just not remembering that there isn't at
this point doesn't really matter at this point.
I think knockoff actually does do more damage, but yeah, as we talked about, it's not going to matter at this point. He just needed a free switch into his Tapu Fini. I think we both the competitors knew, and us alike, that it wasn't going to really change the outcome without too many misses. The Tapu Fini was the locked up late game, so it's going to come in here and he's going to pick up the knockout, and we're going to see a game 3, which that's crazy, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm not even sure there was any scenario where aDrive was losing that, even against the substitute Mudsdale, since with that Tapu Fini so healthy in the back, even a critical hit probably wouldn't have been enough to knock it out if Wolfe somehow was able to keep his substitute alive. So yeah, that was actually a pretty convincing game here, actually revealing the grass knot. Wow, going out in style here as well. Another move that is not super common, but against, if you're having troubles with Gastrodon, then definitely a tech move.
And there we go. Hey, hashtag underdrive. Now, remember, if you guys want to root for your competitors, who you want to pick for the outcome of this match, you can go and tweet at Geico Gaming with hashtag Geico Gaming saying, hey, look, we got our newcomer, Dan, aDrive, putting a show on against the former world champion, 2016 world champion, Wolfe Glick. That's crazy, man. I remember back when VGC was best of 1 and playing against Wolfe, and it's just such a good feeling to get a game off of him. And even though I was never able to do that, I remember the first time that I did was at Worlds last year, and I can only imagine what Dan's feeling. This is probably one of his first serious VGC sets he's ever played, and he just took a game off of the world champion. What the heck?
Yeah, and you also got to think, I mean, of course, a couple of VGC players who've been around probably didn't know him as well. They were a little bit unsure about his capabilities in VGC, but yeah, we're seeing here as he's coming through, getting that victory against, again, none other than the reigning world champion. That's just crazy, right?
Are you worried for your boy right now? Are you scared? Are you nervous? You think he's gonna win?
I'm unbiased, dude. Dan is also a super great guy, and if he won this and knocked down Wolfe in the losers bracket in his group, dude, that would be a hell of a story, of course. But
that's great. I mean, I'm psyched for this. I can't believe it got to a game 3. I didn't know that he would. I mean, Wolfe is, as I said, he's one of the greatest VGC players of all time, and the fact that Dan made that one prediction, the turn where he got the Ice Fang off into the Executor, made his matchup so much easier, and that he just had to save his win condition. The Tapu Fini.
We gotta mention it. It's not like Dan, I don't know, somehow got 4,000 critical hits and I don't know, whatever side effects. He outplayed him, he landed those predictions on the switches. And if you outplay someone like Wolfe, that's nothing to be ashamed of ever. So
that's a confidence booster too. Yeah. Going into this last game, you could see him. He was happy. He's writing down the hashtag underdrive. He wants his people rooting for him. He's asking for the spirit bomb. Send your energy, because this would be a huge upset in this tournament, and that's not something we were expecting. Even though Pokemon is a game that has a luck element to it and is influenced by that, rare occasions, usually the better player does come out on top for the most part. I mean, that's why you see people like Wolfe end up winning world championships and why he's always in the top cut of worlds and stuff like that. And same thing with Sejun. So to see this newcomer, somebody that hasn't been to, the 50-something events that Wolfe has probably been to and dominated, it's just so exciting. So I'm so excited to see how this last match goes up. I don't know who, I'm obviously not rooting for anybody, but if you're rooting for somebody, just send them your energy and let's get ready for this last match.
So it looks like Wolfe went to the drawing board, was thinking about what went wrong this game, and he does not want to have any issues with that, Gyarados and Tapu Fini anymore. Brings the Kartana this time for the first time as his grass type instead of the Executor, I would assume. I mean, we don't know, maybe it's in the back, but bringing out the Kartana would of course be really nice if there was the same lead, say the Tapu Fini and Muk coming out from aDrive, but nope. This time we're seeing Arcanine and Garchomp, so that Kartana probably already has to leave the field again, since it's just pressured so much by that Arcanine. And that Garchomp, which we think should be Toy Scarf, can also just outspeed it, potentially go for a Fire-type attack. So yeah, Wolfe is going to switch out into his Tapu Fini, but once again, that opens an opportunity for aDrive to go for a read here.
Yeah, I think that's very important. I love that Dan was able to send out two Pokemon that threatened exactly what Wolfe was able to do. I think that's one of the hardest elements of VGC is predicting the lead properly, and he did that in like literally in perfect fashion. As he now switches out into Gyarados here, just trying to switching the Intimidate over and over. We're gonna get the Intimidate down onto the Mudsdale, and we're gonna see what the Garchomp goes for here. As it does go for an Earthquake, just gets off the damage that it needs to, and the Tapu Fini is probably going to take this relatively well. The Mudsdale is going to get the boost with the stamina, and I still like Dan's positioning.
Yeah, I mean, he brought in the Gyarados for the chance that something like the Mudsdale is coming in, right? So now he went for the Earthquake. He didn't want to commit too hard, going for, like, we don't know what he has, maybe Fire Fang or Fire Blast into that Kartana, knowing that someone like Wolfe probably doesn't want to give up a Pokemon turn 1. But he also, he keeps his resources, right? Like, he withdraws the Arcanine instead of just seeing like, oh, there's a Kartana on the field, I have to go for a fire type attack into it. He switches back the Arcanine, goes into Gyarados, which is usually not something you kind of want to like switch into Kartana, but getting off that Intimidate, bringing it into position where he can go for Earthquake, not hitting his ally, and threatening the Mudsdale right here. So once again, really liking aDrive's play here. Now he probably has to withdraw the Garchomp as he doesn't want to take a Moonblast from the Tapu Fini, and yep, that is what he's going to do. But that also allows him to get off another Intimidate on that Mudsdale.
Yeah, having the second Intimidate, very important. Just, neutering the Mudsdale's damage output is very essential to how this, his pivoting of his Mons is, takes place. As he now brings in the Muck, so he has two Pokemon on the field weak to that Mudsdale, but it's basically not doing super effective damage now that it's at -2. We're going to see the Moonblast from the Tapu Fini going into the Muck here, going to do around 30% and get the special attack drop, which won't matter. But Mudsdale is going to get a substitute up.
Okay, so we did see two Intimidates going off into the Mudsdale, so the attack stat is severely lowered, but of course getting up that substitute with the stamina boost it already has definitely helps raising its survivability by like a whole lot. Wolfe didn't go for the obvious target, Moonblasting into the Garchomp, but instead went for the Gyarados slot, which now switched into a Muck. So yeah, aDrive, even though he's someone like coming from a singles background, really getting a hang of how that double switching works, going for another double switch here. But this time, it's not really getting him into like a fantastic position, but having Muck on the field against that Tapu Fini definitely is important here.
Yeah, there's no Trick Room up, so the Muck would be able to go first. We're going to see a Wild Charge from the Arcanine there, and we're actually going to... That's a very essential damage there.
Yeah.
The Berry is going to activate for Wolfe, and if it can survive this Poison Jab, that's where the game is kind of, on a crux there.
And we're seeing another Moonblast. No Muddy Water Moonblasting into that Arcanine, expecting a switch there, clearly. Maybe he doubled it up, though. Poison Jab is coming out from the Mug, and that should ensure the KO on the Tapu Fini. As it does. Wow, so once again, nice double target coming out by aDrive, getting rid of the Tapu Fini of Wolfe Glick, and High Horsepower should do a ton of damage, no matter what it targets. It decides to go for the Mug. However, again, those Intimidates really coming in through here, and Muck, thanks to that Berry, is able to recover a lot of health. Basically, I think he's even got a little more than he had prior to that Horsepower.
I like, man, I don't know how, I can't talk about it enough. I really love Dan's positioning here, and he got rid of one of the hardest things his team can deal with, the Tapu Fini, pretty much off the bat. He drew first blood, he got the Pokemon, the first Pokemon off the field. And even though the Mudsdale is behind a substitute, if Wolfe wants to really utilize that substitute properly, Dan has double Intimidate, so he can keep switching back and forth between the Arcanine and the Gyarados, pretty much preventing the Mudsdale from doing what it needs to do behind that substitute. So Wolfe is actually going to switch out his Arcanine here into Kartana. Not that it offers switching synergy here, but probably predicting that he's not going to take an attack into that Arcanine slot as he switches into Gyarados.
Yeah, and you gotta think like what is going through Wolfie's mind right here. I mean, he is the reigning world champion, and he's on the edge of not being eliminated, but losing his first round match here in the group to aDrive, who has not really like attended any VGC tournaments yet. So, and he's getting played again. Switches in the Gyarados, gets off that knockoff. I believe we saw an Assault Vest being removed here on Wolf's Kartana. But wow, I'm really impressed here by Dan's play, and once again, it looks like he's ahead here, and even though that Mudsdale is still hiding behind the substitute, does not have the offensive pressure that it would need here.
I'm like All right, man. I don't know if I'm not going to go out on a whim here and predict that this Muck has flamethrower. But does this Muck have flamethrower? Because I don't think I'd be more excited about anything in my life as the Arcanine does get switched in here. And Wolf's got 3 physical attackers left. So as I said, he can just keep switching back and forth, I know the Mudsdale's behind a substitute, but it's already at -2. The Arcanine very handily going to take that Leaf Blade as Muck just goes for another knockoff, trying to break the substitute of the Mudsdale.
Probably won't be enough, yeah. And yeah, Wolfie is able to get off some damage here for free with the high horsepower on that Muck and the Leaf Blade on that Arcanine. But now Arcanine is in here. We did see that Kartana's item was the Assault Vest, so indicating that it does not have Protect, meaning that aDrive can go ahead and target down that Kartana with any moves he wants, and it's probably not able to protect. And then once he got rid of that Kartana, I mean, how does Wolfie even deal with Gyarados anymore? I don't think that he has any answers left. So getting rid of that Kartana would just end the game right there, meaning that Wolf probably has to switch it out, right, into his Arcanine, but that makes him so predictable, and aDrive can position him like better again and again, and yeah, eventually just get that one knockout he needs to seal up this game.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, Dan still has 4 Pokemon. He's still got a Tapu Fini in the back, and like once that Kartana is gone,
exactly,
it's just like, what does he do? Like, and that's exactly what you're talking about. The Leaf Blade coming out from Kartana here into the Arcanine here, and that was obviously a read. Trying to call the Gyarados here, and he's gonna get the Flare Blades off into the Kartana, and oh my goodness, Dan just literally, I'm not supposed to say it, but he sealed the game with that. Like, what? How did he do that?
Dan aDrive Clap looks like he will defeat Wolfe Glick in the first round of the Pokemon Invitational presented by Geico Gaming. An attack going into the Protect probably doesn't matter. We know that he has Gyarados in the back, and that on its own should be enough to clean up the game after this Kartana went down. Wolfe is questioning a couple of his decisions, I gotta assume. Of course, Dan, I mean, we don't want to like down talk him or anything. He's a fantastic battler, just not as experienced in the VGC format. And of course, Wolfe probably also expected to be the favorite going into this matchup. But Dan, again, proving why he was selected to play here, giving a great show here for everyone, for the viewers. Guys, if you're excited, also, like, don't forget to tweet out with the hashtag Geico Gaming. Let everyone know what is happening here. And yeah, that would mean that we'll see aDrive against Cybertron in the winners match for this group, right?
Dude, this is crazy. I can't believe this is happening. I just want to stop. I'm done.
And
can you take over?
Either
do this by yourself?
Either Wolf or Sejun will already go out in the group stage.
That's crazy, dude. We're going to have Wolf versus Sejun, a matchup we haven't seen since 2012. Oh my goodness. I can't believe this. Now we're going to see the Tectonic Rage here. From aDrive going right into that Oh, actually, my bad. From Wolf trying to pick up a knockout if he can.
Might go into the Garchomp. But yeah, once again, that Mudsdale just does not really have the attack stages it needs to do a ton of damage yet. It will be the Garchomp that is targeted down here by the Tectonic Rage. But yeah, shouldn't really do too much damage. He's got Tapu Fini
in the back. Like, yeah, what are we doing?
And he has Earthquake. He can't even just Earthquake his own Muck. He doesn't have to though, since I mean that would leave him a little open to then later Earthquaking in his own Tapu Fini. But I think at this point he can probably take that, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, well, I don't know that he'd want to do that in that position. If he does have access to something like Dragon Claw, it might be a safer option in this position. But all right, he's actually got the Gyarados, not the Tapu Fini.
Yeah, another water type. It doesn't really matter which one of the two it is. Since,
a water type Pokemon to seal up the game is what we should have been saying.
Yes.
So, and the Intimidate spam too is just so important.
Yeah, so with that, he can just go for more Earthquakes. Wolf trying his best here to hang in the game, protecting the Arcanine, but I hate to say it, but I don't think it will change anything about the outcome. That Mudsdale, though, racking up a lot of stamina boost here in the process. But yeah, Gyarados having that waterfall available to it should still be able to get the KO. Rough Skin adding to that, high horsepower, not once again not finding the critical hit here, and
Gyarados can just go for the Hydro Vortex, and that'll seal the game up, even if the Mudsdale protects. It's just taking too much damage. It can't really do anything to the Gyarados itself. So I have to say, this set was so remarkably played by Dan himself. I'm so impressed with this play, and that just goes to show that, like, I said it before, the people that come into this game, they're here to take down giants, and you get that opportunity to do so. and especially with something
he's so
spectacular
happy.
like
He's
this.
so happy. Look at him. He's just smiling.
I feel like he looks like he expected it. He's like, yeah, this is just me doing business. Like, this is his job. Like, he's like
looking in his calendar and goes like, oh, who's next on the list? Aaron Cybertron Zheng. Nice.
Let's go. I'm so excited for that match too, man. This is great. I told you, I think he went into this matchup with a disadvantage. Shining Hunter for the win. Everybody that threw shade at him, man. That's just like, he's there, he's clapping his hands, he's counting his money, man. If he makes it out of this group stage, that's, he already seals up a prize pool. So
exactly,
that's a worthwhile investment.
Exactly. So yeah, he's got the Z crystal as well, trying to figure out how that works. Whatever, putting it up there. But and he's brought his paper and his pen. He's just like such a fun guy to interact with, and
we got Wolfe laughing there and smiling. He's like, all right, just do your dance. And Dan's backing up into the camera. He's excited, man. He's so happy. Look at this guy.
Yeah, man. I'm pretty sure Wolfe is a little bit, of course, like not upset, but a little bit like sad about him not being able to win this game, and then I mean also losing to someone that again doesn't have any prior accomplishments, but I'm sure that he's good sports with this, as aDrive really definitely deserved that victory here, as he was able to outplay Wolfe in the second and the third game, just switching in and out his Intimidates Pokemon, making the adaptations necessary, bringing the right Pokemon to the second and to the third game. Yeah, he's giving himself a round of applause there. Clap, yeah. Wow, so Dan will get the victory here, 2-1 over Wolfe. And so, yeah, we talked about it already, but that means that the next round encounters in this group are going to be Sejun Park against Wolfe Glick in the losers match, and Aaron Cybertron Zheng against aDrive in the winners match.
Those are the two players I predicted to be playing in the winners finals. What is going on? I don't understand. As I talked about earlier, if you can play Pokemon, you can play Pokemon, and Dan can play Pokemon, and he really did his job there. He utilized every asset his team had to give himself a positional advantage. In game 2, we saw him make really good reads. And in game 3, I want to just emphasize that his positional game there was really smart, and he didn't have to really make any reads. And the last turn of where Kartana was on the field for Wolfe, I was thinking this too. I was like, all right, Dan might want to switch into Gyarados. And what Wolfe was trying to give himself the window to do was use the high crit chance on the Leaf Blade, possibly pick up a knockout onto the Gyarados. But he left it in. And Dan just called that perfectly, got the Flare Blitz off, and we both knew it was done from there.
Yeah, once again, really good job to aDrive, but yeah, we'll kick it to a very short break, and then we will be back with the man himself and talk about what it felt like to defeat the world champion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the OneNationOfGamers Pokemon Invitational, a tournament presented by Geico. And we are here with our second match winner, Dan Clapp, otherwise known as aDrive, who just took down the 2016 world champion Wolfe Glick in the underdog match of the century. What is going through your mind right now, Dan?
Well, first and foremost, I got to give all the props in the world to Wolfe. He's been a friend of mine for the last, I don't know, almost half a year through the VGC community. And he was a huge part in me getting into VGC in the first place. And he was kind of a mentor to me here on my Road to Regional series. So all the respect in the world to him. But guys, I got to tell you, man, I am feeling on top of the world right now. Never did I expect that I would be able to pick up that W. Maybe a little bit, but it was definitely in the back of my mind, but just really stoked about how I played, especially second and third game. First game, I was a little frustrated because I made some plays that I knew the prediction I needed to make, and I just was playing a little too safe, a little too predictable, but I was able to kind of fix that up in the next two games. And I think leaving Togedemaru in the back was actually a good thing because I realized it wasn't going to be too effective against this team with things like Mudsdale.
Yeah, I want you to, when you play against Wolfe, one of the things a lot of people talk about is you can't just play what's on the field. And I think he really adjusted in the second and third game, making the proper predictions, especially with that Ice Fang and Executor. I almost fell out of my chair. And what was going through your mind in making that read? Did you just feel like you were in the rhythm?
Well, so I made that read in the first game, but I didn't click Ice Fang. I clicked the Hydro Vortex. I knew the Executor was coming in, but against my better judgment, I went with the Hydro Vortex. So that was the exact play. It kind of duplicated itself in match 2, and I was able to see that Executor coming in. And once I realized that was the Trick Room setter, I knew I had to make a play, and I knew that Wolfie was going to be making some switches out there. So I was able to kind of make up for that mistake I had in the previous game and try to capitalize on that same switch in the second game.
Okay, so while we were just looking over your teams, we were realizing that your team was focusing a little more on the physical attackers. So we were saying that Arcanine and Wolf's End that should do a ton with Intimidate, always reducing your attack stats. But now actually it was you who dedicated the pace of the second and third game with your double Intimidate, switching in and out. How important do you, or how does it feel as someone who's transferring over from singles to doubles to have those opportunities, go for protect, switch into the Intimidate and so on and stuff like that? How do you feel like you're already on top of that, or just how are you feeling about that part?
It's definitely a learning process, and I think as you get more games under your belt, you're going to be more comfortable. Coming from singles, it's definitely a lot different. I can tell you, I've been playing VGC for less than 2 months now, and I enjoy it a lot. I mean, I just feel like you mentioned, the strategy involved in dealing with 4 Pokemon on the field and really having to nail down those predictions in the back and dealing with the timer can be really challenging. But I do have a very physically offensive team, and I understand that is tough, especially in an Intimidate heavy metagame. But I felt that, in that match, I had the double Intimidates, and I realized that he has a lot of physical attackers as well. We saw the Executor, Mudsdale, assuming Snorlax, Kartana, Arcanine. I was ready to try to hit him with the Intimidate spam there, and I felt like Gyarados was just a great matchup against his team. And I was able to just continuously hit him with Intimidate, so his moves weren't really going to do a whole lot to my team.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, in the end, you were able to get the Mudsdale at a reduced attack set. Were you a little bit surprised that he never tried to, I don't know, switch out the Mudsdale even when it was behind a substitute to reset the Intimidate spam? Because we were thinking that maybe Mudsdale was the one Pokemon he had that you had a little bit of trouble since you brought Muk and Arcanine.
Yeah, I knew the Mudsdale was going to be a problem, especially going into game 3. And the thought did cross my mind of him switching out with that substitute, as I've seen Wolfe do that in the past with his Magnezone, for example, switching out the Magnezone to switch into to something else or whatever it may be for a good counter there. So I've seen him do that in the past, so it definitely went through the back of my head. But I realized that the Mudsdale was kind of dead weight for him at that point in time. I saw the Protect, I saw the sub. I knew he had high horsepower, and I was just trying to burn that ground EMZ. Especially in game 2, I wanted them to waste it so I can get my Finny in there. But really, I knew that Mudsdale was dead weight, and I just kept trying to keep the offensive pressure on, keep those Intimidates going, especially on his physical heavy team. And as soon as I took down that Finny in game 3, I really felt pretty comfortable in terms of dealing with the rest. I knew I could whittle down the Mudsdale as long as I kept Gyarados healthy, because I didn't think he could touch me. I don't know if he's got Rock Slide or not, but either way, after all those Intimidates, that Mudsdale wasn't going to be doing much.
Yeah, and I mean, you landed those double targets. So as a last question, you already mentioned that you saw Wolfe switch out his Magnezone. Did you try to specifically for this tournament prepare and analyze some of his replays? Because we know that you put in a lot of time into team building and preparing for this tournament. Or did you just try to take some lessons from the first game, which you definitely took, which you definitely did, and then utilize that for the second and third game? Or were you prepared for the Wolfe playstyle, so to say?
Yeah, I didn't study Wolfe ahead of time, honestly. If anything, the only person I've really been studying is Aaron. But no, I didn't really study his gameplay beforehand, but I think you hit on the point. Game 1, I made a couple of misplays, and I was able to kind of get some intel on his team, and I was able to kind of capitalize on that in game 2 and game 3, especially game 3. I felt really comfortable by the time we got to that point. But knowing Wolfe, I just tried to not do too much. I understand that he's the highest of highest level players, and I'm just a rookie just getting started off here. So kind of keeping that in mind, I just didn't try to over predict. I went with my gut on most plays, and I tried to, do what I hear all these top players say is understand the safest play and understand when you can make those moves that are going to try to put you ahead, but don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to lose a win condition. I think that's something I was able to do in game 2 and 3 is kind of determine what my win condition was early in the match and preserve it, and understand that I could keep, with the example of the Mudsdale, keep that thing on the field because it wasn't going to be able to really do too much, and that Intimidate pressure really put on a lot of work.
Definitely did a great job there.
One last thing, sorry, before we're cutting into a break. We're seeing a lot of support that you're getting in the chat and on Twitter and from everyone. Now you're going up against Aaron. Do you have something you want to tell all your supporters for the going into that game?
First and foremost, I want to thank the aDrive Army, #underdrive. I hope you guys are having a good time. I'm having a blast here, and big shout outs to Geico Gaming and ONOG for holding it down, and you guys, of course, being amazing. And I just want to make a note to the VGC community in general. Please understand, guys, I'm not your enemy here. I'm just trying to have fun and help grow the scene. So please join my hand and join the rest of our hands to make this something really, really great. I don't want to sound like Trump here, but I really think that we have some great opportunities here, guys, and just understand my focus is to have fun and help grow this community. I think we could do that, win or lose. So going into my match against Aaron, I'm looking forward to it. I really look up to him, and I watch a lot of his road to rank, so should be a lot of fun, and I'm ready to rock, man. Good game, Wolfe, and thank you, guys.
Yeah, I just want to say, yeah, that was a great job. And thanks for giving us a little bit insight into what you're doing. As we said, we all talked about you being the underdog and the underdrive. I love that hashtag. It kind of just clicked with me there. You played a really great match, very switch heavy tournament, and very switch heavy match there. One thing I do want to talk to our viewers about is you can go to the site that ONOG has there at pokemon.onog.gg and enter a giveaway for the Nintendo Switch. We are actually giving one away thanks to Geico Gaming. And there are multiple ways for you to enter this, and we will be we're doing a drawing for it that will be held after the tournament. So go check that out. And once again, just go throw a shout out there on Twitter to @Geico Gaming or #Geico Gaming, and we'll be right back after this break.